Hey, what's up? This is Vonnie Hudson with FixedByVonnie.com, and today we are going to talk about Windows Server 2012 R2 Core. I'm going to explain what it is, give you a few benefits for why you should consider it, then we'll talk about some basic management, and I'll top it off with a little bit of configuration at the end. Check it out. So what is Windows Server Core and why should you consider it? Well, think about Windows Server Core as Windows with only one window, and that window is the command prompt. That's it. You get one window, and when you boot a Core box, it's a black abyss, an enigmatic void. And if you don't know the command prompt, you're not getting anywhere in Core. So why should you even consider it? Why would you want to install, or better yet, why would you not want to install any of the graphical elements on Windows? There's a couple reasons for that. The first is you will get better system stability. Since there are less components to install, there's less components that can break. And since there's less components that can break, your server increases its availability to users who are accessing those resources on it. And so you will get better stability by installing Core. In addition, you will also get slightly better performance when it comes to CPU and memory, right? Because you don't have to worry about your CPU trying to render Windows. It can devote all of its efforts to making sure that your machine is executing whatever commands that you put into the command prompt. And also with the memory requirements, it's a lot less. In fact, I think Windows Server Core will actually run on a box with only 512 megabytes of RAM. It doesn't require a lot. You also get a smaller attack surface, right? So if Windows Server 2012 R2 has an attack surface that's this large, wow, you just saw my secret of Photoshop, then Windows Server Core has a window that's only this large. There's a lot less for an attacker to attack because there's less there. I know it sounds like common sense, but I got to point out the obvious. And therefore, there's fewer stuff to patch. You know, I read somewhere that over 90% of Microsoft's vulnerabilities were related to the GUI in some way. And so you take away the GUI, you take away your patching, or at least you take away a lot of your patching, not all of it, but a lot of it. And another nice thing about Core is you can actually turn that puppy on or off, that should say or off at any time. It's not like you go Core and you can't go back. Once you go Core, you can go back, and it does require a reboot, but it's possible. So how do you manage a Core box? Great question. If there's no GUI, I mean, how do you even interact with this thing? And that's where the remote server administration tools come in, or also known as RSAT. This is a set of tools that you can install on your Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows 8.1 client machine, and it gives you an MMC snap-in. So, for example, you'll get a DNS snap-in, you'll get an Active Directory, Directory Services snap-in, you'll get an IIS snap-in, and that snap-in remotely connects to your server and provides the front end, the front interface that you need to interact with it. So I think this is the most common way to do it, and I think it's the recommended method. You can also use the Server Manager, which you should already be conversant with. It's just the Server Manager. It's that application that loads when you don't have Windows Core installed. You can use WinRS and WinRM. These are Windows Remote Systems Administration, Windows Remote Management. These are the two protocols that kind of run behind the scenes, and you can directly interact with your server using them. And of course, man, who doesn't like PowerShell? PowerShell's great. So you can always use PowerShell as well. So enough of this talk, enough of this whiteboard. I want to show you what this actually looks like, okay? Check it out. So here's my Windows Server 2012 R2 box. Let's go ahead and log in to this my Windows box. And I was working on group policy modeling. Let's close that out. So ignore all the red right now. So the first thing you want to do to enable Core is you want to go to your Manage and you want to remove roles and features. select server selection, go down to features, and then scroll down all the way until you see user interfaces and infrastructure. Here, you see two options: graphical management tools and infrastructure and server graphical shell. Now, if you want to go core, you're going to want to uncheck both. If core is too drastic for you and you still need some sort of GUI, you still need something, you can use the minimal server interface. And it's sort of a halfway point between core and the GUI. You don't get a desktop, you don't get a start screen, you don't get File Explorer, and you don't get Internet Explorer. But you do get the server manager, you get the MMC snap-ins, and you get a limited version of the control panel. And the way to do that is to simply uncheck the server graphical shell here. So this will get you the minimal server interface. But we're going to go for core all the way, so we're just going to uncheck both. Notice a pop-up shows up and it says, ouch, ouch, PowerShell ISE is going away. Don't worry, the PowerShell ISE, integrated scripting environment, doesn't mean you're losing PowerShell, it just means you're losing the GUI for PowerShell. So we'll click Remove Features, click Next, and let's click Remove. Let's do this. All right, so there we go. Looks like everything's been removed. Now we need to reboot the computer. Before we do that, let's open PowerShell as an administrator. I should have muted that, but I didn't. And let me show you something, right? So let's say you weren't sure if you should remove the GUI. Maybe you're running Windows SQL Server 2012, SQL Server 2014, or even 2016, or you're running SharePoint Server. In those cases, you don't want to remove core. You need the GUI. But let's say you weren't sure. There's a couple things you can do in PowerShell to verify. There's kind of like a what-if scenario. And what we do here is we go to PowerShell, and we can type remove Windows feature. This will tell us what would have happened if we removed it. Now, since we already removed it, there's no change needed. But if we hadn't, it would have sort of showed us what would have happened there. So that's just a nice little thing you can do to sort of get a what-if scenario before you actually remove core. Remember, you can always go back. Okay, this isn't a permanent thing. Let's reboot and show you what happened. Yeah, let me get my commands right. Let's log into this box. All right, so let's get in here. And welcome to the core. Dun, dun, dun. Check it out. That's what you get, baby. That's it. Now, of course, you have ipconfig. You know, of course, you have net shell. You know, you can do stuff like that. But if you don't know these commands, it could be kind of a pain. I'll show you a few tricks for figuring this stuff out in a future video. But what I want to show you now is how to get out of core, how to get back the GUI. And it's actually not that hard, but I'm not just going to give you the commands. I want you to understand how to get there yourself. So instead of showing you some commands that you're probably going to forget or that you need to reference over and over, I'm going to show you how you can figure this out yourself using PowerShell. All right, so first we got to get into PowerShell. So type PowerShell. Pop, pop. And here we are going to look for the Windows feature. So you say help, and you can start with a splat, type Windows feature, and you get all the commands that have the word Windows feature in it somewhere. And you can see get Windows feature is one of them. Let's type that. I'm pressing tab to autocomplete the word, by the way. And now you get all the Windows features, everything that we would have that we saw in the server manager. Now you can notice that the graphical management tools and infrastructure and the server graphical shell have associated commandlets: Server-Gui-Mgmt-Infra and Server-Gui-Shell. So that's what we need to enable in order to get back our GUI. So let's just go back down and let's install it. Now you might have to do an import module server manager if you don't already have the module, but we did, so I didn't have to do that, but it's good to do it just in case. And then we can go ahead and install the Windows feature, or features as I should say. Unfortunately, you cannot autocomplete these, so you just have to know it. Now, here's a kicker. If I type restart, it will automatically restart the computer after it installs the features. It's going to prompt me to restart after I install it anyway. So I'm just trying to save a step. I'm lazy. I don't like waiting around. This lets the computer do it for you, okay? And so let's do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and log back in. And there you go. Our beautiful core is back with the server manager ready to greet us. So that's how you do it. That is how you go from a GUI to core, and then from core back to a GUI. You know, that's all I have here. Now, I was going to show you, I don't know if we have time for this, I was going to show you what the minimal server interface looked like. Let me do it like this. Close this out. Let's go to Run as Administrator. I'll just show you what it looks like really quick, because I want to show you how it's the halfway point between the GUI and the core versions. It's actually pretty cool. And if we log in, you'll see it looks like core, but bam, there is the half GUI. And so that's the difference there. That's the distinction. You still get the server manager, you still get core, but it's a little different. Now, by the way, if you wanted to uninstall the GUI and you want to completely remove those bits from your machine, so you wanted to remove the files that are disabled, that way you further shrink your attack surface and you save some disk space, you can use the -remove parameter at the end of the command instead of just typing restart. So for example, I would have typed PowerShell and then uninstall Windows feature, and then you know, I would just type for example, if I were going to the minimal server interface, I would type Server-Gui-Shell, and then I would type remove here. And how did I know that? Well, you can type help, get help, uninstall Windows feature full. And then if you scroll up, you'll see that there is a remove option. Now it doesn't tell you what the remove option does here, but you can see here remove is listed, but it's optional because it's in brackets. But if you want to find out what that does for sure, you can type the same command and type online, and that'll actually get you online and show it. Now it's not working for me because it looks like I'm not connected to the internet. Wait, the online version of this help topic cannot be displayed because the internet address of the help topic is not specified in the command or in the help file for the command. All right, so do I have an IP address? Okay, so I'm online. So I probably just need to update my help, which I don't think I've done. But anyway, bottom line, you can get help anytime you want. You don't need Google. You can use the built-in PowerShell help, and that will give you everything you need. Just type get help, space command, and then space dash online or space dash full. All right, so this is Fixed by Vani here, Vani with Fixed by Vani. And at the end of this video, just go ahead and click a thumb up, click a thumb down, click a something. And don't forget to go to my website, my blog, fixedbyvani.com, and click that subscribe button. You know, you'll get more videos like this delivered right to your YouTube. And keep going. Thanks.